So, with no more to do, it's Rick Prince. And Rick, how are you today?
Hello, good morning, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Rick Prince is a face-off personality, and he's going to be talking about zombies that he makes for movies or for events or for conventions. You might, if you go to any of the scary movie conventions, you might see him there. And what time is it there? Where are you?
It's easy like Sunday morning. I am in Nashville, Tennessee still for the next couple of years.
Okay. And you say for the next couple of years. I mean, do you have something that you're doing there, or that's where your studio is? So you're committed for a couple of years.
Both. We do have some future plans that are going to take us to the Big Island, back in Hawaii, and with me and my fiance. And then for the time being, yeah, we have just settled down. We got a new home with a nice new studio. So we're doing some work on some feature films and enjoying life right now. Everything is calm in the chaos, if you will, for right now. With everything being slow and affected by COVID, we're at least kind of held up and hunkered down, as it were.
Well, that's that I can see is something that we all end up, having to do. This is such a strange time for
Very.
I'm looking at it. I'm kind of shocked that in 2 weeks we will have been trying to keep everything afloat for 6 months, and at this point in time, looking at the ships and what is going on with them, obviously, we're very dependent on the cruise ships, and the cruise ships are going to worry about their own business before they worry about anybody else's. And so, the first ships which have sailed in the Med this month have had very serious limitations on what their passengers can do ashore. And
Right.
so we find ourselves saying, hey, we've been hanging on for 6 months. How is it going to be for the next 6 months? Are we actually going to see anybody, or what's going to happen? So,
And 6 months is a long time in the independent business world, in life in general. That's a long time.
And staff to pay. And unfortunately, tomorrow I'm going to be laying off the last of our staff. So we'll be just pottering around. I'll be pottering around in this big space on my own. But, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, enough of all that.
Yeah, that's why we're here. We're here to celebrate and bring some focus on positivity.
Things. Let's go look at some of your images that we've got here. I see you've got this subtitle, which is Malice in Mind. I noticed that all over the place. That's something you use just for horror movies?
Well, that has been a business name. It has been a subtle stamp on the perspective from which I come when I present things, write things, sculpt things. It's a Peter Benchley quote from National Geographic way back after the release of Jaws, where he said about the exaggeration in the movie of the shark, that even a 12-foot great white coming out of the black and blue looks like a locomotive with malice in mind.
Uh-huh.
And it hooked immediately. So
I think it's a great phrase. I like it a lot. And
it says a lot.
Subtle kind of element to it too. I have to say, this is a horror-based show, so we have to give a warning to parents for some of the kids. Some of these images might seem a bit frightening, but of course, all the things that we do are based on how to do things, and trying to inspire people to get out there for Halloween and scare the pants off of their neighbors. So let's take a look at some of your images here. Warning for people out there, yes, these look kind of bloody, but we're going to talk about how to make stuff like this. So
there's no real trauma here.
No real trauma here at all. So tell me about this image.
All right. So as you were mentioning, a big part of our lives as makeup artists or filmmakers is the convention circuit, and showing and demonstrating live for people, which is something I hope to be able to come down to the Yoda Guy exhibit and when everything turns back on. So this is an in-person demonstration of some materials for Smooth On, which is a simple 2-part silicone that even children can use. It's safe, it's simple, it's easy, and it cures in about 5-7 minutes to a flexible silicone that you can apply directly onto the actor. So this was me demonstrating a mouth/cut and how to paint that properly once applied to the actor.
Yeah. So which you say Smooth On? Smooth On do a lot of different products.
A
So
lot, yes.
yeah,
This is specifically would be Skin Tight, I believe, is the direct on the actor. If you
right.
were going to make an appliance, you would use something like Dragon Skin, which is a two-part silicone.
Yeah.
Mix the two parts together, it cures. And
With the cure.
yeah.
And always we have the issues over, stuff not sticking to silicone. So what do you use to glue it down with?
Fortunately, materials have come a long way. There's specifically, we do a lot of silicone prosthetics now. You can use adhesives like Telesis is a big silicone adhesive that we use. Telesis 5, Telesis 7, they have different numbers. It's Telesis, Telesis. And it's a silicone adhesive. It's used to bond silicone to skin.
Okay.
And where prostate would be used for foam latex.
The next issue is coloring it because silicone again doesn't like to take paint. For a long time people have been dealing or trying to deal with silicone based paints, which traditionally have a problem that they're kind of shiny and need lots of powder and stuff like that. How do you get over that?
I love talking to you, Nick. It's fantastic to have an educated experience. Yes, you do. You have to have primers. And then I found Skin Illustrator as an alcohol-based makeup, depending on the amount of friction or clothing or interaction with the piece itself, has a very good adhesion quality to it, just as an alcohol over-the-top makeup after a simple primer, a unifier. And then, yes, most certainly, you can even see on this photo that potentially a little more powder could have been used on the forehead. There's one little appliance there that's got a little shine to it. So yeah, could have had a touch more powder up there. But that was a live demo, so,
no, live demos,
20 minutes, we're in and out.
Exactly, live demos are good. And all of this, I thank you for sharing, your knowledge base with everybody here, because that's a great thing to do.
I'm happy to do it.
We've got another guy. Yeah, he's this rather than being a small piece, this is a much bigger piece. Is this a one-piece facial appliance?
Effectively, there are 4 pieces, I guess, in this shot, if you count the dental appliances. So he has a over-the-lip dental appliance for an upper, and the same with the lower. And then there's a foam latex piece that goes around that to make the skin blend. There's a brow piece, and then there's a hand piece on the piece there in the very front.
Really, yeah. Clearly. And is this is all in the same material?
I believe, this is the cowboy zombie. So all this is out of Smooth On products. Dragon skin for making the appliances. If you render them out of a mold, the silicone has a little bit more tensile strength. It's a little bit more durable. And then Skin Tight as the appliance silicone. And then Skin Illustrator makeup over the top. So yeah, I believe this whole thing was Smooth On. Even the teeth were made out of Smooth On Smoothcast 300, which is a resin.
Right. I think one of the things that we really need our viewers to understand is that there are significantly different ways of making masks. So when you start out, you just want to make something for Halloween, then the probability is that you're going to just make a one-piece pullover mask and stick it on your head and go wandering down the street. When you're trying to do something that is for of a movie quality, that is more realistic, that has facial movements and other things, then you have to go that step further and learn how to make these individual pieces and apply them directly to the face. Takes a lot more time and a lot more energy, but ultimately it's a lot more rewarding. I remember years and years ago, I'd done some sculpts for a album cover for a British rocker, and they were like an ape-like character, and we'd done 3 of them because we weren't sure how extreme they wanted. It was for the guy was called Graham Parker, and it was for an album called Parkerilla. So it wanted to be kind of monkey-like, but we still needed to know it was him. So, we looked at having some that were kind of extremely gorilla-ish and some that were less. And anyway, to make a long story short, Ultimately, they chose less, and I had these other pieces sitting around in the studio. And one day, where we were unemployed and playing around in the studio to hone our skills, I made my number two up in this thing, and we sent him down the street to stand at the bus stop. And so, he was just this kind of gorilla looking character that was almost gorilla, but also almost human. And he would I don't know what it's like at bus stops in the States these days, but in England, everyone would stand in a queue. So the first person next to the stop would be the first to get on, and everybody knew. So they'd stand in this neat line, and then this guy would turn around to face the people that were standing behind him in the queue, and everybody was kind of keeping their distance. I mean, there's a lot of fun in going out there and doing this stuff.
Yeah. Anytime you can take your makeup out into public for any reason is always a good time, unless it's something horrific, and be safe when you do that.
No, I wouldn't do that unless it was a horror convention,
Right.
People might start with Halloween, and then they're going to move on. They're going to find that they like it so much. They've got these pieces that they made, and maybe they just want to go to a convention and put their pieces on and strip their stuff there. One of the issues that one has to mention, though, with a job like this, is that once you start to try to create teeth and various other things, you're projecting that part of the face forward, and you have to really work to make the impression of the face, the flesh around it, to come forward to work too. Pieces like that don't always work from every angle, and here you can see that you've done a good job of faking the teeth forward and faking the rest of the face forward.
Yeah, it is an additive game to give the appearance of subtractive when you're adding clay to an actor's live cast to make it look like they've lost their skin. It's a delicate balance, and thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's a tough game.
It is. And there he is again. I noticed that with all your zombies, you have this same extremely dark eye system that makes the eyes themselves jump out. I think
there's
really
something to be said for the full look. If you're a zombie, we get prescription contacts, non-prescription contacts, and a clear-eyed zombie just doesn't look dead. So we'll get different contact lenses of varying states of decay, or full black sclerals, just anything that we need to be able to present that look if we can on set. And sometimes that isn't available, and then we'll do a little digital correction in post.
I like the addition of the horse here. I think I haven't seen anybody do that before.
Yeah, this was a good, fortunate set location where we were at a local haunted house facility. I think now that is under 13th Floor Productions and Nashville Nightmare. They had a big animatronic prop horse, headless horseman. So we were able to use that prop, and yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so here we're actually looking at making some of these. I always prefer making items on a life cast, but I know that a lot of people will make smaller pieces like this on flat surfaces, and it's a much easier place for people to start.
Well, these were silicone transfers, so some of it is conducive to the mold making and rendering process for the decision making to do flat molds. These were everyday. These are for the film Eyes of the Dead, which I dropped a trailer for in there. That's a movie we did right after we all got off the show. And these were appliances that had to be worn by the main actor every single day. So we had to have stacks and stacks and stacks of the appliances. So the choice was made to go with a flat mold because the silicone prosthetic rendering process would be one that you could pour, treat, and walk away from versus a contoured mold where you would have to rotate or have some special considerations.
So tell everyone about what you're sculpting this in.
So this was before I was really introduced to monster clay. So this was Chavant non-sulfurated plastiline. So it's a Chavant NSP medium brown, which you can order from their website. It's just a soft clay that is got a little bit of wax to it that keeps it from sticking.
Why did you make the change to Monster Clay?
It had the same properties, but had a little more resilience. It just comes out of the mold a little cleaner. It carries the same amount of detail, maybe a little bit more readily available. And the biggest thing is because I'm a glove wearing person. Chavant gets on your fingers and stays, and Monster Clay does not.
Okay, well,
it's a very picky thing, I know, but
for someone who's starting out, one of the problem issues when you're starting out is actually deciding what it is you're going to work with. I mean,
right.
All you do is see a catalog, and you've got no experience to choose anything from. And so, talking to people who've already been there and done that really helps. How do prices compare? Because Chavant, I know I've got some Chavant here, which I don't really like working with oil-based clays. I have to be honest, but I have some Chavant here. It's expensive stuff.
It has its role, especially I use Chavant mostly now for hard, small figure detail. I use the NSP hard. But yeah, like you were saying, the price point is the gateway entry. And that's another reason, while I'm not a paid sponsor or anything like that from Smooth On, if you go to their website, they've got videos that demonstrate their material. The internet age has been great because we used to write handwritten letters to Dick Smith to find out information, and you would get theory back in paper. But now they get videos you can watch. The silicones are like $30 or $40 for
I use
board size.
So you're absolutely right. Smooth On is a good starting base, and even though there are other companies that do good products, I find that being able to get most of what you need from one source with one set of shipping has its value too. So that's certainly well done. I'll ask Smooth On for a donation later. But
anyway, they are a very generous company. Even to the stranger outside just calling in with a question, they're very responsive. They've just been a wonderful company.
And what about? But I don't think they do anything like this for sculpting with, do they?
They have a variety of materials for all sorts of purposes. And what they don't have, they facilitate. And some of the distributors that carry the Smooth On, like Reynolds, there's a couple of different carriers that facilitate, will have all the auxiliary materials that you would need, stir sticks, and all the auxiliary things, the tools themselves. But Smooth On has a lot of things, from epoxies to resins to silicone.
Yeah, they do.
Definitely check them out.
So here's some more. We're looking at sculpts that relate to hands and saws and
yeah, this is actually a progression. The first on the left is the initial bite. The middle is advanced stage, where the same wounds are opening up, and then by the right hand side, that's the stage 3, where it's all starting to decompose. So that's how you see the progression of the makeup deteriorate the zombie texture and material.
Cool. So, tell me about the things you've been doing. I know you've been directing some movies that you've been filming with Rashad, and so tell us about that.
Well, it started when Rashad and I met during casting on Face Off for season 5 and 6, respectively. They simultaneously cast those. We met each other in casting, did the show both seasons. I was on 5, he wound up on 6. And then we continued on into our film career, where me being on the show got my name out there to the world. There were some wonderful private investors who asked me if I had ever thought about directing a movie. I was ready like a Hollywood waiter and had a script with me. And they read it overnight and was greenlit on LWA All Saints Eve. That's LWA All Saints Eve, which is Halloween.
They are filled for the signs and occurrence of the spirit world. This All Saints Eve.
In the Creole community of southern Louisiana, descended from African Haitian slaves, a religious faith called Vodou still flourishes. Colloquially, it is called voodoo.
Everyone, stay together. Look out, he wanted this. This is your idea.
Show me your fate and claim your destiny.
I see you.
So that movie can be found right now on Amazon Prime. It's on Hulu, I believe. It's out there. Just do a web search. It's streaming live. The success of that film led to a partnership with Rashad, so he could direct his first film, just like I had that same opportunity, was able to pay it forward and let him have the director's chair, and wrote Beast of the Water for him, which is also available on Amazon Prime.
This is a powerful place. We call these lands home for thousands of years before they came and took them. This is our land now! And just like them, you are not worthy. Help me understand your story.
We simply do not see the need for these anthropological expeditions of yours anymore.
This could be a great find for humanity.
ASIF believes in you, Dr. Gray, and you need ASIF to continue your research.
I've got something to show you. I found this. Take care.
Dr. Gray has potentially discovered one of the most significant scientific finds in history. The applications have endless potentials. You three will be going up to the site tomorrow. This is Harris, commanding officer on your mission.
The Inuwati is not pleased with your presence. Jesus Christ, what the hell happened here?
These people have families, and now no one will ever know what happened to them.
You will research the samples that we provide.
This is our research.
And this is my mission.
What exactly did Harris come here to do?
Not all safe. Knew they'd send another thief and assassin to finish the job the first two couldn't.
Now you're afraid of the dark?
There is something in here with us.
We're all trespassers here.
Show yourself, you coward! You question my authority?
No one is on the height.
What's the plan now, son? Kill them all.
So each of us were able to direct and create our own feature films after the show, and we're very grateful for that.
Cool. Was it difficult to get a project up and running with Prime? How was the connection made there?
Well, that's the interesting part of the film business, is that there are several different stages of dynamics with regard to the creation of the story, the script, the filming of the film itself to get your actual footage, and then the whole post-production, finalizing, and distribution side. And a lot of that has changed with the at-home market, all the streaming content. We are very fortunate to be able to go direct to market to an Amazon distributor, or beyond that with the distribution companies that we have for the different films that will place your films out there for the on-demand market. Versus having to traditionally, like you were mentioning with Light Force, which is a fan favorite. We'll talk about that later, but that was traditionally through the studios and out to actual film houses that were in theaters, which is another industry that
this streaming issue existed then.
At least it helped.
I'm getting off topic here, but I think that streaming is going to have a very severe negative impact on cinemas, because basically the distributors through streaming can cut the cinemas out and make the profit themselves without having to split the income with the cinemas. And I think that there's a real danger that cinemas will dwindle like theatre did. There was a time when every town had its theatre, and people would go there for entertainment. That became cinemas. Now people are doing it on their phones. So it's got to have the internet is going to have that impact, I think. But on the positive side, it means that people can make stuff for the small screen rather than making stuff for a 70-foot wide screen, and they can edit it home, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for independent movie and entertainment makers that there hasn't been before.
Most certainly, people are shooting feature films and having them released from their iPhones now. So that is definitely a thing. I personally am, when you are trying to watch a movie at that size, that will do nothing for me with regard to Tenet, which I think is a good litmus test when it comes to the theater. The at-home streaming service has kind of saved us, at least in an entertainment capacity, during all this time where we're all trapped at home, because at least you can bring the content to us in some way. So in a small way, it has helped. But to me, nothing will replace soon, hopefully, with it done safely and properly, being able to go to an IMAX theater and watch Tenet in the format that it was meant to be presented. As a filmmaker, it does break my heart to know that my movie may be watched on a 4 by, a couple of inch phone. But as long as we're watching, thank you.
That is life, yes, right.
So, we'll take what we can get right now. So that's the trailer for Eyes of the Dead.
Let's try not to ruin tonight, okay? We need this. We need a normal night with our friends. I can't wait for someone to come. The police?
The police aren't coming. And I don't know who is. Adam, are you okay? Did they bite you?
We're all gonna die.
No, wait! Sorry! Don't go out there!
What is this? Barricade the door!
If you're scared, you go, Eddie. Come on, man.
Devil inside her.
They're coming back!
Yeah, just nice. A story of a family in the suburbs. I can see how you could have enjoyed doing that too.
Yeah, that was a great production with the Samuels brothers, Ben and Oliver, up in Pittsburgh. That was a gig that I worked on as kind of a subcontractor, part of a team with Tolan Effects, and that's with Steve Tolan, who was also on our series of Face Off, Eyes of the Dead. Check it out.
Sounds like fun. So here we go. Here's some more
Fun in the Cornfield. Yeah, this is a good example of the contact lenses used on set, blending for lighting, indoors, outdoors. It was an interesting, hot and sweaty day outside. This is one of the silicone transfer pieces on one of the child actors in the film. And here he is after his shot.
After extras been added to it. What blood are you using here, or do you make your own?
Generally, generally we make our own blood. We've got our recipes. If you go to squibfx.com, that's Steve Tolan's website where he makes the blood rigs. I think he's got a blood recipe up on there that might be available for free. Or if you needed pre-purchased blood, you could buy real blood, REEL blood from like Motion Picture Effects or something like that. Mm-hmm. But we make our own.
And the problem that we all had right at the beginning with making our own blood, which was basically cochineal based, was it stained the skin really badly, and it was a long time before we got around that.
Yes, the dyes and different pigments used in the process have evolved over the years that have made life much easier. There's a shot, I think the next shot, we blew 4 gallons into the interior of that car. You can see it all over the dashboard. If it tilted the camera up, you would see why her leg is all red. We just blew blood all over that car and then had to do 2 more takes. So we gave the whole car a sponge bath on the inside, reset it, and then blew it again, and then did the same thing, and then blew it again. So you can see a little bit that the blood viscosity is a little thinner. The color isn't as saturated for that very purpose of trying to avoid the staining that does sometimes happen.
Right. And here we're applying some of those the types of pieces that you were showing us earlier.
This was back in 2015.
Yeah, that everybody has fun on these movies and takes it terribly seriously.
Yes, this is back when you could get nice and close with each other and have some good fun.
Yeah, how are they handling that on film sets now?
At a distance, with PPE, you're wearing your mask, gloves, face shields, and then you're filming at a distance. The film industry has taken a good up curve at learning, and it all comes from just having effective and proper leadership, that hands out information that you can utilize to make life safer and better for everyone.
But the actors can't keep their distance, obviously.
Yeah, and that's a thing that blocking. If you can, and if not, then everyone is tested beforehand. Everyone has their temperature taken, and then it's right back into protective after your intimate, close level shots.
Easy world. What can I say? So here are a bunch of kids with some of these are transfers of some sort.
Yes, this just shows you the level of involvement that you can get. Tinsley Transfers are a fantastic company, a brand that's from the developer of the actual process. I think Mr. Tinsley developed that for the movie about Jesus with Jim Caviezel. I don't remember the name.
Okay.
But all the backlashing, he came up with this silicone transfer, this kind of process for that with the water slide, or refined it or whatever. But these are off the shelf, consumer level, $10, $15 that you can get, and they're on water slide paper. So all you need is water, and you can apply them. They're pre-colored little pieces, and these are a bunch of Girl Scouts that came by for a spring break class that we had at NECAT Network here in Nashville.
Obviously there is a degree of fun in just applying something like this and going out. But for people who go that extra mile, there is a satisfaction in fabricating your own stuff that I don't think can be replaced. I know we live in a world where people think entertainment is exercising their thumbs on their phone, but ultimately, literally making something gives you a real kind of sense of achievement, especially when people then react to it in a really solid way. So
and it reminds you also that there are people behind the magic in the movies that you see on
and
film
you
and television.
That these are kids, this is kids learning to be creative and to make stuff. And yeah, we're all making horror stuff, but they know it's make believe and they're not terrified of each other.
Right. Zombies have become mainstream at this point. Even on the show, they had children that were able to deal with the zombies. With one click.
Right?
Yeah, it's good times now. And you have all different sorts of zombies. This is the gentleman zombie.
Yes, and I like him. And I in life also we tried to get a sense of apply a sense of remembered normality to our zombies with people who were falling apart, but they still had nicotine stains on their moustache, and the girl who was shriveled, but her hair was still glamorous because she'd been to the hairdresser, and she probably had painted nails, and that sort of leftover really brings home the two issues: the issue of the life that was and the life that is.
Mm-hmm. Most certainly.
And you've used it. I see this character in a lot of your photos.
Yeah, we were teamed up with a photographer at the time and a wonderful actor. This is James Mez Banks, and he's a fantastic actor. I met him at the haunted house, and he is a brilliant performer. As you can see, this is just him and all these poses. And we wanted to showcase a little bit of the material. This is Smooth On. It's a one dragon skin appliance for the brow, and then stippled skin tight over everything to use as an adhesive and a blender. So it was trying to showcase that even for the super inexpensive material off the shelf, you can achieve at least a close to professional HD. There's no correction on these photos. This is all in camera.
This for Halloween, they would definitely get a very significant reaction from the people down the street.
I think so, and it's simple. It's approachable. If you want to try this at home, it's very simple. It's safe. When the material cures, you can effectively just kind of roll it up and peel it off. You don't need an adhesive. It is the adhesive itself. So it's a lot of fun. It's simple. It's easy to use, and it looks great. It really moves like skin. This is more of the. These are just skin tight appliances. These are just rendered out of the final piece itself. So these are very thin, very soft, very flexible pieces here. And so, I did a whole run on the Smooth On stuff because it was just so user friendly. And that's yours truly.
I recognized you. This was on one of your bad days, right?
Yeah, the whole point is that I got into this industry in the first place is I wanted to be a monster. So you got to get out in it and play sometimes. Step in front of the camera and get out in public, go to the conventions and character and have a good time. And then, they're able to be used for cross-promotional, I put a book in my hand in that shot. I think these are up on like one of the image shacks or whatever. You could buy these photos for using in your own, business or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen one of them show up. I'm the American Ninja Warrior on The Daily Show with John Oliver back in the day. They used one of the clips, and I was super thrilled about that.
Sure. More of the different characters, but
yeah, this is my buddy Yoni, and it is zombies are it's just what kind of trauma did you have? It's all wounds and damage and decomposition, but they go on any person, and that's part of the range from kids.
This is actually what most effects makeup artists start by doing. The most appealing because it is easier than this is easier than doing a believable old age makeup.
Yes, it's very forgiving.
And you can cover things up, and you can you can mess with it a lot. And so it's something that you see all beginners and amateur makeup artists, posting on Facebook and whatever else, although not to this standard, I have to say.
Well, thank you. And yes, it's 100% true. Even in the casting for our show, they were at some point after the first season or two, they were just like, just don't send us any zombie or trauma or any of that. Just go with characters. And because it is a separate level. A lot of people put too much blood on things. So you no longer see the intricate detail of your sculpture that's hidden under there.
Talking about blood, one of the issues that we used to deal with very early on was that the principles of different colors of blood to give you different depths of wounds, etc. The blood that you're using, does it come in different colors, or do you get one color and then change it for where you need it to be? Like here, darker in the deep parts and lighter above.
Yeah, multifaceted question and answer. If you look at this photo as an example, he's got at least 3 different shades of blood. He's got a little bit of the red, semi-fresh, and then he's got a much darker layer, and then he's even got a black version. So each of them have their own pigment ratios, but it's just food coloring and or dyes or pigments that you put into your standard mix. And then sometimes we'll thicken it, use a little Cabo. That's Cabosil. It's a filler additive that you never want to breathe. Always wear a mask with that stuff. Right. But you mix it in, and it increases the viscosity. It gives it thickness, so you can kind of have a blood paste, if you would, that would stay especially in the beard, because it would just run through that. So we wanted it to hold a little of the density there.
Right. I'm going to give the amateurs a little tip here. Actually, you can create all those colors with a jar of coffee. Coffee isn't going to poison body, and the more coffee you put in, the thicker it gets and the darker it gets. And so, you can actually mix it all right there at your table and save yourself money buying multiple products.
Perfect.
Granulated coffee is good too, because it gives you those clumpy lumps that can look really good. Anyway,
hey, some of the traditional tried and true methods are not broken and do not need fixing. You're 100% correct.
Yeah. Yes, everybody wants to kick a zombie.
Everybody.
It's very unfortunate for zombies. I imagine the Zombie Union would have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, I love the films that we get that have a little bit of the zombies' perspective in them. Those are always a treat.
Yeah. So tell me here.
This is part of a series. We were finished with the onset and we went back to the studio. And before I cleaned them out of the makeup, I was like, well, let's get some cool detail shots. So this is just a little series of detail that you can use. Again, these are available like clip art online. So if you had an event, you could.
Same material that you were talking about before?
Yeah, this is smooth on. This is dragon skin on the palm there. And then just a little skin tight stippled over to open up and leave some wounds. This is Skin Illustrator alcohol-based makeup over the top.
Right. Oh. You seem to have two of these.
Yeah, one of them is just rotated a little bit more. Yeah, it's just slightly different poses. Yeah, drag and drop error on my part to have a duplicate of
it. No, but that's all right. That's cool.
And it's a pre-Photoshop with a string at the top.
A fun, bizarre idea too.
And then when you have an actor who wears your makeup well, that's equally half of the makeup is the actor's job to bring it to life or to make it feel dead.
The same thing's true with puppets and everything else. You can build the greatest thing that no one's ever seen before, but if people don't bring it to life right, then it falls flat, and you don't have the impact that you expected.
Completely. I love the dangly gooeys. Anytime you've got a little hangy saliva or we call them skin flaps. Yeah. Anytime you've got those that register in a shot or on a scene, those are our favorites. So there's some extra shine there on that beard that makes me happy every time I see it.
And
peace, man.
Yeah, actually, in England, that means something else.
Yeah. That's why I was like, disclaimer. Let's go ahead and establish that one as peace.
So again, we're looking once again at making. You use these for sores rather than wounds, or what?
Well, wounds that are decomposed in the zombie world end up opening up and deteriorating and becoming some sort of sore. So at some point, there would have been an initial breach of the skin, and then we just start to take that like a time-lapse evolution to where it would be in the future.
Right.
With no blood flow and no maintenance. This is an old shot of me back in 1999, maybe, something like that. But just playing around for fun, going out to a convention or a zombie walk. That's a thing that happens now, or used to, pre-COVID, was when you get together in large groups and go walk through your city, which is an interesting thing to do. Get 100 to 1,000 zombies that are just en masse walking and marching through the city streets. It's a
that sounds like a thing to organize in the Caribbean, I think.
Yeah, there we go.
How that might be. There are a lot of zombies actually originate. The concept of zombies originates from Haiti. So.
Right. That came up in the research I did for Loire All Saints Eve, because it's a voodoo film and we talk about the history of voodoo and how it translated and landed in Louisiana. And that was a path back through Haiti, back to Africa. And Zombie with an Eye, if you've ever seen the original film, go back and look. Through the George Romero zombie evolution to where we are now in modern day, with all the different versions of fast zombies, slow zombies,
Yeah, well, exactly, and you know, a lot of other variations on the thing. You know, World War Z was put down a lot by the critics, etc. But I thought that was a pretty damn good film, actually. I thought
I did as well.
What I thought about World War Z was it wasn't just about zombies jumping up and eating people. There was a lot of drama and tension and character development that I thought really worked well. So, guys, if you like zombie movies, I'd recommend World War Z to you.
Same here. And if you like the movie or didn't like the movie, read the book. There's a lot of things that were not addressed, like every novel that didn't make the film, that give you a greater sense of the world. And there's a lot more that happens in the book. So maybe a sequel at some point. But yeah, I dug it. I thought it was a good film. That approach would be terrifying. Those kind of pack-oriented zombies. Terrifying.
It was interesting the way that they combined, you know, some of the wider digital shots that they would have to do digitally because it wasn't possible to do it physically. With the physical makeups and other stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To Sonia Thompson. Yay! So Sonia is one of the zombies from The Walking Dead, one of the most featured. She's on the promotional artwork for season 1 all over the world. She was in the tank scene with Rick Grimes, I guess, in season 1. And she is a wonderful actress who was also cast in our movie La All Saints Eve. So we did a corporate zombie party here in Nashville, downtown at Union Station. And she was a featured guest who came up. We did something like 100 zombies in an hour. I had a small crew, and then they all went out for a corporate business party. And working with Sonia is fantastic every time. She teaches a zombie method.
Interesting concept, really. A zombie party, right?
Right. It's my kind of company.
Do the executives come as zombies, or do they sit down for a board meeting and the zombies show up as well?
Everyone who wanted to participate was able to sit down in the chair and go through the entire makeup process. There was a quick screening on allergies and reactions, any kind of sort of thing, any sensitivities, and a general quick litmus test. And then if you were clear, and most of the stuff that we're using is hypoallergenic as it is. It's really the alcohol makeup is probably you gotta let them know, hey, you gotta clean this off when you get home because they're gonna walk.
Alcohol is everywhere
and never come back. So
alcohol's in so many products. It's not true. I don't think you can get through a day without putting alcohol in the skin in one form or another.
Right. But yeah, those are some interesting. That just shows you how mainstream the zombies have become, and The Walking Dead has been a huge part of that, both in comic form and as the show. Multiple shows.
Here we've got another one of your action pieces here. Have you created this area on the side of the head by shaving the hair off or by covering it up?
Well, this is young Calvin Freeman. He was a 16-year-old young man who was about to cut his hair. So I said, let's just do part of it to start with. So we physically shaved what he did. He shaved the side of his head and came ready, and we were able to utilize that wonderful real estate for this prosthetic that wrapped around the side.
For a week, he went back to school looking like this, and I can tell.
He had a great time.
At 16, you would really love that, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, that's if I could have ever had this kind of exposure when I was that age. It was still a mystery when I was 16. You're talking 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And to have it that readily available, and even to have somebody do it on you at a convention or out anywhere I would have killed for that.
I think this is one of those images that you have in a print form, isn't it?
It is. And what I was wanting to do, we've got some, your Patreon people, we got a huge fan base, and everybody that's interested in what you're doing down there, Nick. It's a wonderful thing that you do, and you're a wonderful man, human being. And I wanted to maybe contribute some things to the cause. And I've got some big prints. These are giclées. These are big 4-foot, which way? This way. 4-foot printouts on canvas that are framed portraits, basically, of some of the images that we have there. And I would like to donate these to you for auction, with 100% of the proceeds going to help you there at the So you're the guy.
Really appreciate that. You know, that's really good of you, and I appreciate everything that you know different people are really doing for us along the way. We're very lucky to have a lot of supporters. You know, in this street where I am right now, this is like the Madison Avenue of St. Martin. It's not a Madison Avenue in the posh sense. But this is where all the tourists come to shop, etc., etc. And so far, 90 businesses have closed down, and so yeah, it's a struggle, and I really appreciate you helping us keep the foundation alive.
Yeah, join me on Patreon. I'm a Patreon subscriber. Join me. Let's keep this going. It's a wonderful thing you have going, Nick. It's an honor to be able to help.
Thank you for that, Rick. I appreciate it. So, going back to our photos, these are some of your publicity photos. I have to say, you do a really good job of putting this, you know, these publicizing what you're doing of PR and all of that stuff. There's a definite professional air in how you are marketing what you're doing. That you know, a lot of artists, they might be great artists, but they're lousy business people. And so you know, that's really the problem with people who are painters. When I say artists in the classic sense, that they might be able to paint wonderful paintings, but they can't sell a painting. You know, Van Gogh sold one painting in his lifetime, I think.
Right.
You know, because they're just business people. But you have a very strong handle on what you're doing here.
I really appreciate that, Nick. It is a delicate balance, and as a one-man show, which I'm sure you're very well aware, it takes everything you have.
Yeah.
Love it.
So we've got another you know great character here. It's great to take characters that are traditional, like Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, or something that everybody has a mindset on, and then you know turning it into a zombie or something else that has a horror element.
Most certainly. I had the good fortune for a couple of years was teamed up with a photographer named Dieter. And he had access to a whole host of Santas because I think he's an iStock photo guy. And, you know, that came up and I was like, oh, you have Santas? And so this was a natural, if you've seen Silent Night, Deadly Night, you know, I'm an 80s kid, so I've seen pretty much all of your work that you've been involved in the different films along the way. And you get an iconic character that you're able to kind of have your way with and upset the norm. It's a lot of fun.
I'm not sure if the first one wasn't Santa Claus.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, with the W.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good times. I don't think that the wonderful, sweet gentleman that was this Santa quite realized where we were going. And I know that his wife was not happy. But, sorry, my apologies, man.
Yeah, well, what can I say? Yeah, wives sometimes have their moments.
Yeah, he was so sweet. It's total contrasting character, which is what makes it so great. That juxtaposition, that irony, bad Santa, you know, it's all in good fun.
Here's the image that I used for you for this show, it's nice because it brings home the make-believe nature of what we do, and the skills that the makeup artists apply in creating this fantasy world.
I try to be smiling or very gentle in my looks when I'm dealing with a super traumatic thing. I think it's funny just to be so soft and gentle with this totally just destroyed dead guy or whatever. This is another school outreach makeup that we did with Kneecap Network, which is a local television nonprofit here in Tennessee that we're just making this content. It's kind of like a Bob Ross's painting show, but for makeup. So if you tune in here locally in Nashville, you'll probably see time-lapse makeup and kids in school with a bunch of zombies or aliens or, you know, whatever we were doing that spring break, which is a lot of fun.
I like this as your business card. I think a great sense of fun there.
Yeah, you get to play with it, and that's some of the reason for those random shots of the peace signs or the hands or the flags is because you can use them as piecemeal clip art in a variety of ways that is fun. You know, we use these for direction signs. Sometimes we have one pointing a finger for the zombie walks. If you want a point of sale signage or something, we shoot these random images kind of for that purpose.
Cool. So that is pretty much all of your images that we.
Yeah, that was my zombie folder. It's a lot of fun. Like you said, zombies are low hanging fruit in the makeup world, but they are a constant source of income. Whether it's zombies or trauma, those two kind of are both. It's just a coloration. If you turn them a little bit more brown and decay them, then they're zombies. Otherwise, they're fresh trauma. If you leave the normal skin color and make the blood red. So it's a big volume, a big part of our percentage wheel of work, especially with shows here that are local. I'm in Tennessee, so Atlanta is just south by 3 hours. So the Walking Dead capital of the world has been just south of me for a decade now. So there's been a lot of work in that industry, and it is easy to show. It's easy to demo. If you go to a convention, it's one of the easiest out of the kit things that you can put on people versus a full on prosthetic creature thing that you have to use special adhesives and removers.
Right. Yes. And that can get expensive and complicated.
Yeah. To me, the biggest part is that, again, the people, if you do a demo, they will go out in public and then going home, and then they'll be at home with this thing on their face, like, Rick, how do I get this off? And it'll be glued to their face, and they won't have the material to release the glue. If in those cases we do those kind of demos, we send them with a little at-home cleanup removal kit or whatever. But I prefer to do all the removals because it's the safest, best way to have it done.
Surely. So, what advice would you give to people who are, sitting here watching this, getting excited, wanting to get started, and not being 100% sure where to go and what to do?
Find your gateway drug in. For me, one of the easiest ways, I'm going to just plug it because it doesn't matter, I'm not getting paid. Look for the blue and yellow. That's Smooth On's branding, A and B. Just go to the Smooth On website, go to Stan Winston School for Character Arts, type in special effects makeup on YouTube, and do your research. Find a path that you want to take. Find something simple and affordable. Order some $30 silicone, get it at home, get some mixing cups, mix it together and put it on your hand or something first before you put it on your face or around your eyes or something. See what it does. Get a little latex. See what that is if you have no latex allergies. There's a lot of things that you can do that are simple, safe, entry-level steps that will get you immediately into the world of makeup. There's stuff at your local Walgreens or CVS, some drugstore that you can get regular makeup to start with. But it's dip your toe in and see how the water feels.
Exactly. Yes, and don't be afraid to play around. You talked about Stan Winston School of Character Arts. I haven't told anybody this, but we've been negotiating. Well, not negotiating. We've been talking to them about including them in our StarNet events.
That would be a fantastic partnership. I talked with Matt Winston when they were doing the beta testing and was involved in that for the school itself. And it is a wonderful learning and education tool for anybody.
Too, if you are, for someone who's starting out and can't afford to go to, spend thousands on a fancy school, to actually do their videos online, which is only about $300 a year. Yeah, right.
$1 a day.
Tell your mom and dad that that's the Christmas present you want, right? It's a subscription to that, and you can spend a whole year looking at how-to videos that are really in detail and really great. So and I felt they were absolutely in keeping with what we're trying to do here, inspiring people and encouraging people and giving them a leg up. And so I'm glad to say that Matt has agreed to us, including them in that. To what extent, we haven't decided yet. I've got to talk to him about that in detail. But that was something that happened this week.
Well, that is fantastic news. It is the site itself. It's hours and hours with the industry professionals showing you the entire process of how it's done. It's a fantastic resource. Yeah. I, as a professional, we still go back and look because there's something new. There's a different way to go about the same old thing that I've been doing. There's a little technique.
And we tend to get pigeonholed to some extent. Someone sees you do something and they ask you to do more of the same or something similar. And sometimes it's good to be able to go and see what someone else is doing from a completely different, a completely different point. Well, Rick, I think that we actually covered our time really well here.
Good deal. I want to make sure that you guys know that we've got these two wonderful canvases that we're going to be following with Nick and letting you know how you can make bids on all those. Please be sure if you're interested in zombies and you're wanting to help Nick out that you follow up and pay attention to that.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to post those as images separately on Facebook, where we basically offer up the pieces that we have for sale. So
most certainly.
I'm so grateful for that. As always, it was really nice talking to you, and I hope that we're going to figure out talking about something else again pretty soon.
Let's do it. Yes, sir. Thanks again for having me. I love what you do. I learn something from you every time we talk, Nick.
Well, that's good. Take care and have fun.
You as well. Be safe, my friend.
I will. So that of course we did a few months ago. I think somewhere along there I mentioned that we were 5 months into COVID at that time. Of course, now we're getting close to 11 months into COVID, and it's looking like we're going to have another year of it before the ships come back. Enough of that. I like this particular panel a lot because it went into detail about how to achieve these effects, not just, oh, look at this, isn't it clever, this is what I do, but actually to break down what materials you needed and how to go about making it and where to look for additional information and to inspire people to get out there and make their own stuff, and that's that I think is what we want to do here. Creativity is what we focus on at the Follow Your Star Foundation. I would say, that I think getting some reference on human muscle structure and what lies under the skin and practicing your sculpting skills is relevant too. Don't expect to be able to do everything perfectly first time, because you won't. And actually, it's being able to make your mistakes and figure out what you did wrong that enhances the quality of what you do. We're only good at what we do because we've already made our mistakes. We already know not to do X, Y, and Z, and that we're better with E, F, and J. So always remember, practice makes perfect. Creativity is what we focus on at the Follow Your Star Foundation. We're trying to encourage youngsters to follow their dreams and oldsters to get out of the chair and pursue that interest that they always wanted to get into, rather than just sitting around and letting their muscles waste. Get out there and do it before you run out of time or energy to do it. So thanks for watching. If you want to rewatch, this is going to be there for a few weeks, and you can click on it and rewatch the recording anytime. Don't forget that if you want to be a Follow Your Star supporter and support these events and help us get through this horrible COVID economy, you can always join us on Patreon. It's patreon.com FYSF, and there you donate $5 or $10 or whatever you feel you can afford each month. to help us pay our bills and survive through this period. All income goes to keeping the museum and foundation afloat, where we encourage you to follow your dreams and live extraordinary lives. So this is that Yoda guy, Nick Maley, saying, have a good week. I'm going to see you again next Sunday. And may your horizons be expanded, and may the force be with you always. Have a good week.